Let's be real for a second. Have you ever spent hours, maybe even days, cramming for a big test? You reread your notes until your eyes glaze over. You feel like you know it inside and out, only to have your mind go completely blank in the exam room? Yeah, if that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. And what we're about to cover could totally change the game for you. We're going to uncover a study hack your brain has been begging for.
So picture two students. On the left, you've got the rereader. This person is diligent. They read their notes a whopping 14 times. They walk into the test feeling super confident. But on the right, you have the tester. They only read the material about 3 times, but they also quiz themselves 3 times. Now here's the crazy part. The rereader feels more confident, but when the grades come out, it's the tester who actually remembers the stuff. Wait, what? That seems totally backward, right? More work should mean better results. So what is going on here? Let's break it down.
Here's our game plan. First, we're going to expose the rereading trap for what it is. Then, we'll introduce a much better way, self-testing. I'll give you a simple 6-step action plan you can literally start using tonight. We'll also dive into the science of why this works so well, share some pro tips to make you even better, and then get you ready for your next study session.
All right, first up, let's talk about this rereading trap. It's the default study method for almost everyone, but it's built on a really dangerous illusion.
And look, this isn't just a random idea. It's a proven psychological thing. Researchers Roediger and Karpik nailed it back in 2006. What happens is, the more you reread something, the more familiar it becomes. And here's the trap. Your brain mistakes that feeling of familiarity for actual mastery. It feels easy because you recognize the words on the page, not because you can actually recall the information from scratch. And trust me, that is a huge difference.
So if rereading is a trap, how do we get out of it? Well, the answer is a simple but really powerful shift in your strategy. We're moving from just passively reviewing to actively recalling. Welcome to the world of self-testing. It's a total game changer.
This whole idea is built on something called the testing effect. And here's the main takeaway. The act of pulling information out of your brain is a way more powerful learning tool than just trying to shove it back in again and again. It's like a workout for your brain. Every time you force yourself to remember something, you're making that memory muscle stronger.
Okay, so we get the what and the why. Now let's get into the how. Here is your simple 6-step blueprint for putting this testing effect into action right away.
Let's walk through this real quick. Step 1. While you're learning the stuff for the first time, start collecting potential test questions. Step 2. Put all those questions into one big list. 3. Use that list to create a practice test. 4. Take it and try to make it feel like a real exam. 5. And this is super important. Review what you got right and wrong. And finally, step 6. Just do it again. It seems simple, but the real power is in the details of these steps.
Let's focus in on step 3 for a second, creating your test. Here's a pro tip. Don't just test yourself on the chapter you just finished. Mix it up. Pull questions from chapters you studied last week or even last month. This is a technique called interleaving, and it's awesome. It forces your brain to work harder. First, it has to figure out what the question is about, and then it has to figure out how to solve it. It's tougher, for sure, but that's exactly what builds the mental muscle you need for the real deal.
Now let's talk about step 5, because this is where the magic really happens. Getting a question wrong isn't a failure. It's feedback. It's like a big, bright, flashing arrow pointing directly at what you need to work on. So don't just look at the right answer and move on. No, you gotta dig in. Ask yourself, why did I get that wrong? Did I just not understand the concept? Or was it a silly, careless mistake? This is how you turn your errors into the best study guide you could ever have.
So, what is actually going on inside your brain that makes self-testing so incredibly effective? Let's get into the science of retrieval.
Remember our rereader from the beginning? Get this. Studies show that on average, students who just reread go over their material 14 times. 14! That is a ton of time and effort. And yeah, it makes them feel really confident. But as you're about to see, that confidence is basically a lie.
And here is the cold, hard proof. Look at this chart. The group that reread 14 times remembered way less than the group that only read the stuff about 3 times but tested themselves 3 times. Just let that sink in for a second. Less time studying led to dramatically better results. The evidence here is just undeniable. Testing doesn't just beat rereading, it crushes it.
So why? What's going on in there? Well, think of it like this. Every time you test yourself, you're forcing your brain to search for and reproduce information. It's like walking the same path in a forest over and over until it becomes a clear, easy trail. You're also building multiple roads to that same memory so you can get there from different directions. It helps you build a mental map of how all the ideas connect. And maybe best of all, it's a diagnostic tool. It shows you exactly where you're weak and where you need to put in more effort.
Okay, so you're ready to start testing yourself. But how can we make it even more powerful? Here are a few quick pro tips to help you optimize the whole process. Want to level up? Easy. First, mix up the kinds of questions you ask yourself. Don't just do multiple choice. Try short answers, fill in the blanks, anything that makes you recall from scratch. Second, mix up the difficulty. A good blend of easy questions and really tough ones keeps you sharp. And finally, work smarter, not harder. Your teacher or your textbook probably already has practice tests or problem sets. Use them. They're basically a goldmine of ready-made questions.
You know, it's not just what you do that matters, it's also when you do it. Research shows there's a sweet spot for practice testing, and it's about 6 days before the actual exam. Now, this gives your brain just enough time to forget a little bit, which sounds bad but is actually a good thing. It forces your brain to work harder to retrieve the memory, which makes it stronger. Plus, it gives you plenty of time to review any of the weak spots you find.
And that brings us to our final section. When you really get down to it, it all comes down to a simple choice you're going to make before your next study session.
So let's put it all together. A final showdown. Rereading. Low effort gives you this fake, deceptively high confidence. And the end result is forgetting. Self-testing, on the other hand, yeah, it's higher effort, but it gives you a realistic confidence, and the final outcome is actually remembering. The choice isn't just about a study technique. It's about choosing between the illusion of knowing something and the reality of actually knowing it.
So, as you head into your next study session, the choice is yours. Are you going to stick with that comfortable, familiar path of rereading, even though you now know it's a trap? Or are you going to embrace the path that's a little more challenging, but way, way more rewarding, the path of self-testing? The science is crystal clear. The only question left is, what are you going to do?